Let's talk to God. One more thing, like, subscribe, and share. Come on, let's talk to God. Woo!
Hey, good evening, everybody. It's Cutler here. Let's talk to Law. I got tongue-tied at the very beginning. This is the Let's Talk to Cutler broadcast, the Let's Talk to Cutler virtual book club, the YouTube platform, all of that. And we take these Tuesday nights and we spend about 1,800 seconds together. And so I want to say thank you for allowing me to come into whatever space you've allowed me to come in. Thank you so very much for that. I don't take it for granted. And those of you who have been with me for the long haul, I appreciate you more than you know. I really, really do. And I just want to let you know, if this is your first time, if you're just catching a replay for the first time, please know this. This platform is about motivation. It's about inspiration. It is about sometimes challenging us to show up our best selves, even in the worst of situations, making sure that we rehearse conversations so that we're never out of character, and so that our integrity is always in check, because life presents lots of challenges, presents lots of opportunities for us to reevaluate who we are and to reassess what is important to us, all those kinds of things. And I'm glad that we are intentional and deliberate in our conversations here, so that we make sure when we walk away from this conversation, from this platform, for me, I don't know about for you all, but I do know several of you all. So let me just sort of recant on that. I do know that for many of us, when we walk away from this platform, it is about application. How do we apply what we talked about on these Tuesday nights? How does it make my life different? How does it make my life better? Cutler often talks about making sure that we are on our way to the spaces called better. How do I parlay from that conversation onto a highway that is really taking me to a space called better? I want to deal with that just a little bit more this evening, because I am convinced that these conversations are just not willy-nilly. They're not haphazard conversations, but many times they're conversations that come out of my experiences. They're conversations that come from materials that I have read. They're conversations that come from other conversations that I may have had with other people. And sometimes they're just conversations that are purely inspired. So I have them in hopes that it really does create this space, this trajectory where we're saying, I'm on my way to some places called better. My life is not stuck. I am not discontent. I am not depressed. I am not discouraged, but I am actively seeking better. Every single day of my life, I'm actively seeking better. And I hope that that's your mantra as well. And so I want to thank you all for sending me emails, for participating in the chat, for showing up these Tuesdays, because it reinvigorates me, it challenges me, it revives me. And as it revives me, I hope I offer something that will inspire, motivate, challenge, and revive you as well. I want to talk this evening about how to handle change in a challenging time, because it's one thing how to handle change in challenging times, because it's one thing to deal with change, just period. It's one thing to try to process, try to navigate, try to deal with change, period. But much more so, it is exacerbated, it's worsened whenever we're trying to deal with change, or when we're trying to navigate change in the midst of a challenging time, when everything is que sera, sera, and everything is hunky-dory and everything is fine and smooth and dandy. Then it's okay. Give me change. Let me handle change. But when things are in an uproar, when things are in an upheaval, when things are chaotic, when things are turbulent, those are the times when you think, okay, I don't need to process change. I don't need to handle change. I don't need to think about change. I don't need change in my life at all. But I want to talk about that, because sometimes it is inevitable. You can't help it. It's coming your way. And so I want to talk from a healthy perspective about how do we handle change in a challenging time. How many of you all know that we are in challenging times? Like, you all can talk back to me. Of course you can. And I'll shout out the LTT the Let's Talk to Cutler, the LTTC VIPs in just a moment. I was reading the chat to see who was there so I could shout you all out. All right. But I'll shout out the LTTC VIPs in just a moment. But how many of us know that we really are in challenging times? I've made this quote before. It was Thomas Paine, who was a columnist, who said, "These are the times that try men's souls." And that's exactly where we are. These are the times that try men's soul. I'm thinking about Charles Dickens as he opened his novel. He said it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. And so we have all of these times that are colliding, and these times that don't seem to be cooperating with each other. But this is where we are. So let's talk about, from an individual perspective, you all, how to handle change in a challenging time, or how to handle change in challenging times, because the challenging times are upon us. What you gonna do about it? Things are already out. You can't squeeze the toothpaste back in the tube because it's already out. So then, yeah, Linda said, unless you're living under a rock. Absolutely. So let's talk about how to deal with that. Let's talk about how do we handle it in a healthy way, in a way that's not counterproductive, in a way that works for us, that still keeps us in the right perspective, that keeps us along, that's true, that helps us to stay true to who we are, true to our values, true to the things that are important to us. So I want to talk about that, how to handle change in challenging times. I really, really do. But first, let me shout out those who showed up first from my perspective. And I see several of you, but come on into the chat, because I want to see you all. And I need your feedback, because I really want to hear what you all have to say and see what you're writing. So talk back to me if you don't mind. But from my perspective, the people that I see who are first in the chat are Paula D, Annie Cutler, Linda Martin. You all are the LTTC VIPs this evening, this March the 4th, 2025. And so thank you all for that. Thank you for just showing up first. You just happen to show up. But these are challenging times, and really, you all talk to me on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being not good at all and 10 being excellent. How well do you handle change? How well do you handle change? How well do you cope with change? How well do you embrace change? Because to embrace change, it means that you have to cultivate this mindset where you understand that change is inevitable. And you have to see change as an opportunity to learn. You have to see change as an opportunity to grow. You have to see change as an opportunity to evolve, because again, it is inevitable. You can't escape it. It is going to happen. It is going to knock on your door, and we have to be able to approach it with the right attitude, with an optimistic attitude, with a positive attitude. We have to approach it from the perspective of being flexible and being adaptable, and being able to deal with the newness that it brings. And so I'm talking about just being able to make sure that we have the right perspective, making sure that we consider what potentially good could come of this situation, instead of focusing solely on the negative pieces and the things that make me uncomfortable, the things that bring me dis-ease, and the things that bring me discomfort, and the things that bring me discouragement. What can I see in this change? Cutler, you have to admit this is difficult, particularly when we're talking about challenging times. Yes, it is difficult when we talk about challenging times. That's why I said in the outset of this conversation that sometimes we talk from things that are inspirational, sometimes things that are motivational, but things that will sometimes challenge us to show our best selves, even in the worst of situations. The worst of situations are upon us. Let's deal with it. Let's just go ahead and get that out there. No caveat. We don't need to hide it. We don't need to sweep it on the rug. The worst of times are among us, and it could potentially get even worse. So let's acknowledge that as well. But make sure that you understand your perspective is what's important. Your perspective and how you respond, that's what's important. I've seen and heard a whole lot of things that just sort of rub me the wrong way, that make me uncomfortable, that make me look side-eye at things, that make me question people's motive, and sometimes their heart and sometimes their soul. And you say, well, Cutler, that's not yours to do. You're right. But when I think about the people who are in my space, not always in my circle, but the people who are in my space, the people that I sometimes have to interact with, it makes me try to stay ahead of the game. In this day and age, it makes me try to stay ahead of the game in terms of being able to navigate what's good for me, what works for me. How am I handling this change? How am I handling change in these challenging times? So again, it is about cultivating the mindset that says, all right, there might be some opportunity for growth. There might be some opportunity for learning. I have to make sure I understand that it is inevitable. It is going to happen. I have to make sure that my attitude is optimistic, upbeat. I have to make sure that it's positive. I have to make sure that I'm flexible, that I'm adaptable, all of that. So the scale of 1 to 10, I'm curious. I want to see how do you all deal with change? You all haven't put anything in the chat. So that's okay, because you might be thinking, Cutler, I don't know if I really want to disclose how I deal with change. But the truth of the matter is this: change is coming. Change is coming. And while I don't want to discredit my faith at all, because really my faith is the foundation upon which I stand, and that is the lens through which I've learned to see everything. That's for me. Maybe that's not for everybody, but for me, my faith is the lens through which I've learned to look at the world. It is the lens through which I've learned to look at crises. It is the lens through which I've learned to look at challenges. My faith is the lens through which I've learned to look at circumstances and scenarios when they come my way. My faith is the lens through which I've learned to look at people. Yes, absolutely. So then, even through that, even standing on that foundation, for me, one of the things that I have to say, and I have to rehearse that whole serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Let me say that again, so that we are not lost in that thing, you all, because there are some things over which we have no control. And so there is no need to bang your head against a brick wall. There's no need to kick rocks. There's no need to do any of that, because there are some things that you cannot change. So God, grant me the serenity, the peace. Are you really going there? Yeah, because my faith is what I stand on. And I know some of y'all share my faith as well. So I just want to offer this, because this is true to who I am. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change. Now, let me just pause there for just a moment. That doesn't mean that I'm accepting the rightness. I'm accepting the correctness. I'm accepting the okay-ness, if I can make up a word. To accept it doesn't mean that I behold it as right, that I behold it as correct, that I behold it as proper. Help me to accept or be at peace with the fact that there are some things that I just cannot change. So then, grant me the serenity, the peace to accept, to handle, to deal with the fact that there's some things that I can't change. But then for those things that I can change, and can I tell you, there's some things that we can change. We may not be able to change individually, but we can change collectively. Give me the courage to change the things that I can. Grant me the courage to change those things that I can. Because listen, let me say this to us. Movements have taken place because people understood that they had the courage, that they took courage. And what does it mean to take courage? It means to step out of a place of doubt. It means to step out of a place of fear. Yeah, my knees may be knocking and my hand may be sweating and all that, but I have to step out of a place of fear and say, this is something that I can change. This is something that I can do something about. So while you're granting me serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, give me the courage to change the things that I can. Give me the courage so that I don't have to cower in fear. The courage to change the things that I can, and help me to understand there are some things that I can change, there's some things that I cannot change. So would you grant me the wisdom to know the difference? Because many times, I don't know about you all, but many times I and people in my life have just fought battles that they couldn't do anything about. We're out here beating our heads up against walls and doing stuff that we can't do anything about. So would you grant me the wisdom to know the difference? Would you grant me the wisdom to know the difference? I need peace. I need serenity to accept the things and just throw up my hands and say that there's a source, there's a power higher than I. Grant me the serenity, the peace. Help me to be at peace when there are things that I can't control. Help me to be at peace when there are things that I can't control, and understand that there is one who can control it. There's one who's not caught off guard by it. So then, after you grant me the serenity, give me courage. Courage says I'm able to square my shoulders and march into it and know that I can bring about or effect change. I think about all the movements, the civil rights movements, the women's movements. I think about all of these movements. Somebody had courage. Somebody had courage. So then, there are many times when not only must you just meditate and must you make sure that your attitude is correct, but can I say this to us? Sometimes we just have to acknowledge that change is here. It's not time to sweep it under a rug. Can I tell you, it's not going away, because if you try to sweep it under a rug, you're just going to create a bigger mound that somebody could possibly trip over. So one of the things that we have to do, you all, is to acknowledge, oh my goodness, change is here, whether it's for the good, the better, or the worse. Change is here. So sweeping stuff under a rug, can I tell you, that's a surefire way to go into denial and end up creating what happens when you do that? When you turn your head, you create a false reality. It happens. It has happened through history. It has happened in recent history. There are people who have just turned their heads and they created this false reality. Like, if I don't see it, that means it doesn't happen. It means it's not taking place. That is not true. Nothing could be further from the truth. Just because you look the other way does not mean it's not happening. People are losing jobs. It's happening. People are dying. It's happening. Chaos seems to be strategically implemented. And I know that's oxymoronic, but we're living in a time when chaos seems to be strategized. It seems to be planned. And if you turn your head and look the other way, you are creating a false reality, saying, no, well, that's not it. People categorically are being affected by things that are taking place because of this administration. And I'm not trying to politicize this platform. I just want to be honest. There are things that are happening, and there are certain groups of people who are being affected by negatively more than others. One of my friends would say, oh, y'all don't want to hear the truth tonight. But it is true, you all. It is true. And so one of the things we have to do is to acknowledge that change is here. I'm not going to live in false reality. Thank you, Cutler. It is here. Acknowledge the notion that it's here. It's important to look change straight in the face. It is important to, yes, McDonough, absolutely chaos. It is important to look change straight in the face, to look it straight in the eye for what it is. And no matter how gut-wrenching it may be, that is the first step to say, you know what? I woke up on such and such date and I realized things had changed. You can say, I woke up this morning and I realized that things had changed. Because maybe if you've missed it for the past few weeks, things have changed. The way things have changed. I may just have another platform and talk about that, but you have to look it straight in the eye and say, you know what, Cutler, things have changed. Don't you live in a false reality. Things have changed, and not all for the good. We are in challenging times. And then when you look at that, that is the first step. So you're not sweeping it under the rug. And then you need to ask yourself, okay, so now as I realize that things have changed in challenging times, they could potentially have a negative impact on my life. But let me ask myself this, or let me tell myself this. Don't always dwell on the negative. Let me not always dwell on the negative, but let me ask myself, is there anything positive that I can get out of this? Not that all good will come out. And I know that, but I don't want to philosophize and talk about, hey, everything is going to be all right, because everything ain't going to be all right. Let me just put that out there. Everything, and I know that all my colloquialisms are all in there, but everything ain't gonna be all right. But one of the things that we have to do is to make sure that we take care of ourselves in a challenging situation. How can I make sure I look at the fact that change is here and I say to myself, what can I do to make sure that I come through this all right? I come through this okay. There's going to be something that I learn about me in this situation. No, everything doesn't necessarily have to be the good has to be a learning situation. But what can I do? How can I be better? Maybe I can be better by making sure that my goal is to help somebody else come through. Maybe I can look at myself and say, you know what? You're going to prove to yourself how strong you are. You're going to prove to yourself what kind of reliable friend you are. You're going to prove to you. And so there are some opportunities. And I'm not talking about business strategies and business opportunities and all of that sort of thing, you all. But what I want us to do first is to acknowledge what is going on. Acknowledge that change is here. And one of the things that I'm going to vow to myself, I'm going to promise to myself that change is not going to make me a worse person. Change is going to make me a better person, because to the extent that I can help somebody while I'm going through, I'm going to grab them by the hand and say, you know what? You're my sister, you're my brother, you're my friend, you're my comrade, you're my confidant, you're my colleague, you're something in my circle, in my space. How can I help you? You help me, I help you. You push me, I'll pull you. And so you can look at it from a positive perspective. So that way you're not always looking down. You're not always looking negatively. I just really need us to change our perspective of how we've been handling all of this kind of stuff, because I know sometimes our hearts are just our hearts are just broken about how things are happening. And you say, oh Lord, we're going to end up in World War III and this is going to happen. And we might, and all that could possibly happen. Oh, the economy is just going to plummet. Ain't no telling what's going to happen with Wall Street. And all that is a possibility. But here's the thing, you all, with all of that going on, you have to say to yourself, listen, how can I make sure that my integrity is still in check? How can I make sure my character is not compromised? And how can I help keep somebody else's? How can I help them with? How can I make sure that I'm there for somebody else who needs just a little a shoulder or an ear? How can I make sure I do that? That is making sure that you come out better than you were. So perhaps we then might need to make a list of the positive things that can come out of this. In the midst of chaos, I vow to be better. In the midst of chaos, I vow to be stronger. In the midst of chaos, I vow to make sure that I check on somebody. In the midst of chaos, I vow to make sure that I'm there for somebody. And I vow to still be the best version of me that I can possibly be. And I don't know what cards are going to be dealt, but I'm going to play the hand that I've been dealt like I'm going to win. So learn to look at situations optimistically. So can I tell you that some of us have already given up. Some of us have already given up. We've given up on other people. In the midst of challenging times, we've given up on other people. We've given up on ourselves. We've given up on our faith. We've just given up, and we just said, "Que sera, sera." That's French for whatever will be, will be. But one of the things you have to say is that there is hope even in the midst of this. There are possibilities even in the midst of this. There are probabilities even in the midst of this. So you have to look at the situation and you say, you know what? I don't see gloom and doom, but I do see possibilities. I see the opportunities for things to thrive. I see the opportunities to help jumpstart other things. So you're looking at it and you say, you know what? Reality sets in. It's here. But even in the midst of challenging times being here, it doesn't have to be this way always. Because who knows what you can give birth to in the midst of challenging times? I don't want to be so philosophical, but in the midst of pain, women give birth. And this is a painful situation that we're living in, but it does not mean that we can't give birth to things, ideas, concepts, people. It does not mean that can't happen. And so I know that there are times when we are worried and we wonder what's going to happen. But we have to make sure that as I'm dealing with all of those things, I have to make sure that I'm not so stressed out. That I'm not so stressed out until I rule out the possibility of any kind of success, any kind of victory. And so that means that is how I see it. Let me not become so stressed out that I rule out the possibility of any kind of success, of any kind of victory. But you have to have the mindset. You have to have the mindset that says, you know what? I'm not going to become so overwhelmed. I'm not going to become so stressed out to the point that I nullify the possibility of victory. You can win in the midst of chaos. All you need to do is step back and say, let me remember what's important to me. And when I remember the things that are important, I won't focus on the things that give me anxiety. When I remember the things that are important, I won't focus on the things that cause me to fear. When I focus on the things that are important, I won't focus on the naysayers and the negativity. In other words, I'm giving us the perspective to have hope. You know, at the end of these broadcasts, I said one of the things we need to do is just to keep your heads up and keep your hopes up. And that's what I'm suggesting here this evening. So instead of allowing yourself to become paralyzed by your fear, I want you to step back, take a breath. I say, no, no. I see things are looking bad. I got it, but I'm not ruling out the possibility of success, which means that I have hope. It's cliche, but keep hope alive. I have hope. And then may I say this, you all, and let me say this in the most respectful way that I can. It is okay to share your thoughts with other people. As you're going through these challenging times, don't feel like you're the only one going through. I'm reminded of another one of my favorite passages where the prophet thought that he was the only one going through what he was going through, so he ran and hid in a cave until he was reminded, you're not the only one going through what you're going through. I got 10,000 others who are similarly situated. And so can I say this to us, that you are never the only one going through what you're going through. We're all going through this. We're all going through this. Some people are processing it differently. Some people are situated differently, whereby they handle it differently. But can I say we're all going through this? So this is not the time to become a recluse. This is not the time. This is not the time. This is not the time to become withdrawn and fail to communicate with anybody. This is not the time to go in the house and pull the blinds down and pull the shades and pull the curtains and get in bed and cover your head up. This is not the time to do any of this. But one of the things, this is a time where you need to talk to other people. Check out and talk to the people, talk to your friends, talk to your family members, talk to the people that you can trust. Don't talk to people when you know that you have different political views. Don't do that, because you're setting yourself up for failure. Don't do that. You're setting yourself up for anxiety. You're setting yourself up for high blood pressure. Just don't do that. But in times like these, in these challenging times, and I'm talking about how to handle change in challenging times, talk to friends, talk to family members, talk to people who you can trust. Talk to them about your thoughts, about your feelings, about your emotions. I get it. And sometimes, men, we just don't like to talk to people, but this is the time when you need to talk to people about your feelings and your emotions, your fears, your doubts, your anxiety, about all of that kind of stuff. Because perhaps in talking, you might get some recommendations and possible solutions of how to handle specifically what you're dealing with. And so as you might get some possibilities and recommendations of how to handle what you're dealing with, and what am I saying? Be open, be flexible. That's where the flexibility comes in. Okay, so now I talked to you about it, and so you're giving me your feedback. I need to be open to the possibility of change, and I need to be open to the possibility of handling things yet a different way. What am I saying? Be flexible, be adaptable, be open to embracing change in a different way. Life, can I tell you this? We are on this intense roller coaster. I can't think of any better way to say it, but we are on this very intense roller coaster. So sometimes it seems like we're just inching, slowly trying to get up the mountain, trying to get to victory. We're inching, trying to get to our goals. And it seems like as you're in on the roller coaster, it's going so slow, so slow, so slow. And then sometimes it seems like it's just stopped. And you don't know if it's stopped there and it's getting ready to roll backwards, but you see victory and you're trying to get up there. So one of the things that we need to do is to make sure we understand life is on this intense roller coaster, because then all of a sudden when it finally gets there and you think, whoo, and as soon as you say, you think I get a little reprieve, and the next thing you know, it plummets down the hill. And you're not ready, and you're hanging on. You're doing the best you can to hang on to life. And sometimes you feel like I got it, I'm on top of life, but other times you feel like life is on top of me. And so there are no guarantees to always what tomorrow is going to look like. That's what I'm saying. In this day and age, there are no guarantees to what tomorrow is going to look like. But the beauty of it is that we can be flexible, we can be adaptable, we can change, and we can say, you know what, come what may. Come what may, there are some things that I know about myself. I'm preparing myself. I'm equipping myself to be flexible and adaptable. So that when the winds and the waves come, I'm planted, I'm good. I'll deal with them as they come. Listen, you all, thank you all. You all have given me more than 1,800 seconds, but I thank you. I just wanted to share this because I know that we are in challenging times. We are in trying times. These are the times that try men's soul. Men, women, boys, and girls, dogs, cats, fish, everybody. These are the times that try everybody's soul. But we need to we need to be braced and postured so that we can handle the challenges, the change the change that's taking place in these challenging times. All right. So then let's keep doing what we do. Let's keep building community. Let's keep maintaining connectivity. Here I go. Let's keep our heads up and keep our hopes up. Stay safe, stay sane. Don't let anybody, honestly, don't let anybody run you crazy. Not in these times. One of my friends would say, not in times such as these. Don't do it. But please know from my heart to yours, there is and always will be so much love. So much. Let's handle change. Let's handle the challenges of change from a very healthy and positive way. And until the next time we talk, tell somebody, come on and let's talk to Cutler, because for goodness sakes, the man is trying to tell us how to handle change in challenging times. Listen, I will see you the next time I see you. That'll be next Tuesday. Good night.